everyone, my name is Krishna, and this is my first time making a YouTube video. I'm not a makeup blogger or anything of that sorts, but I actually wanted to discuss my acne story. And the first half of this video is probably going to be a long video, but the first half of this video is going to be me talking about my personal story and what I went through dealing with my skin and the struggles that I faced. And the second half of this video is kind of going to be exactly what I did to cure my acne. So if you guys aren't a fan of videos where people just talk for an extended period of time, you should probably fast forward to the later half of the video. But starting off my story, I don't really talk about my skin very often, and the reason I kind of wanted to put this out there is because I know that when I used to have extremely, extremely severe cystic acne. I don't have any photos actually of my actual skin. It's not something that I was obviously proud of, so I never used to take photos of it. And I don't think anyone really ever saw me without makeup on. I used to wear layers and layers of foundation to cover up my skin, and you can't really cover up huge bumps, but I used to have extremely severe scarring as well. So I don't have any photos of me without makeup and just barefaced. I genuinely have never seen anybody with skin that was as bad as mine, and that's not an exaggeration. And the reason I wanted to make this video was so that I could hopefully help somebody else with their skin and maybe make people feel like they're not alone, and also of course provide a cure, because all I ever did when I was suffering with my skin was watching YouTube videos to help me realize that I'm not alone and that there are other people that are facing this issue and there is a cure, that there are certain things that have helped people. And I think for me, I mostly cured my skin independently, in the sense that dermatologists really never helped me at all. It was more independent research and slowly figuring out what was wrong with my skin and what worked for me personally. So starting off with my acne story, in high school I used to break out here and there, kind of, and like normally, I mean, I never had like really clear skin, but it was never something that I think was abnormal. I would break out the way that we all see teenagers break out here and there. And once I started college, freshman spring, it started getting pretty bad. I started kind of breaking out everywhere, especially a lot on my forehead. And I remember when summer rolled around, for some reason it all cleared up, and then I started sophomore year with a clear face. And sophomore fall is when it got extremely, extremely bad. I started off the semester with clear skin, and slowly it just started getting worse and worse. And I had cysts all over my face. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys know what cystic acne is. If you have cystic acne, you'll understand. Cystic acne is not normal acne. Like, normal acne is like on the surface bumps, like it's gross, but you might even see like pus or whatever. But cystic acne actually starts underneath the skin and pushes out. It's very deep and very painful. It's like deep inflammation in the skin. So I had at least like 20 given cysts on my face at a certain point, early sophomore year, like maybe by October. And I'd never really been to a dermatologist before, so my parents were getting pretty worried because my skin was just getting really bad, and they were like, I think we should see a dermatologist. So we went to a dermatologist, and this dermatologist prescribed antibiotics and 2 topical creams. And for me, like, not really, he just told me to take the tablet and use the creams. He didn't really explain like how to actually use them. From my perspective, it was like, especially with the creams, like the more I take, the better, right? Like the more I put on my face, it should help. I didn't really know anything about the way these creams actually worked. So I was taking these antibiotics, and what I didn't know when I was taking them is that they were 4 times stronger than they were supposed to be for my size. I'm like 90 pounds, so it was way, way too strong for how big I am, and I developed esophagitis, so I couldn't swallow because my esophagus had swelled up, and every time I would take this tablet, I would get a horrible headache. Like my stomach, I would just get so nauseous, and I was doing very well in college, and I went from having straight A's to like not doing well in school at all because I couldn't concentrate on anything. But I was so desperate to clear my skin that I kept taking this tablet, which I didn't realize was only making it worse. It didn't clear my skin. My skin got much, much worse from that point. On top of that, I was using these topical creams, and one of the creams was a retinoid called Tazorac, which is the most powerful form of retinoid. I don't know if you guys know what a retinoid is, but a retinoid is essentially an acid that tries to thin out your skin so that you stop breaking out, and you're really supposed to put like a pea-sized amount, like that much, all over your face, and it is supposed to make you, it's supposed to bring out like the under the surface pimples and like make you break out a lot when you first use it, but I was lathering it all over my face, which you're not supposed to do. It's extremely powerful. And I was just mentally very like every time I would take the tablet, I felt like I was very out of it mentally. I was like not in a good place with myself, and on top of that, I'm lathering these creams all over my face, and I start breaking out so badly. I've never seen anybody with skin like that in my whole life. Like 50 to 60 given cysts all over my, not even more, like uncountable number. Like my face was covered and like you couldn't even see skin, and it was so incredibly painful. Like I couldn't even like lay my cheek on my pillow without being in severe pain. And every day, like I would, this is disgusting, but like my pillow covers would be covered in blood every morning, and I would have to flip my pillow over so that my roommate wouldn't see that because that's not something I wanted her to see. It was really, really painful, and I developed like second degree burns also. So I have cysts, right? I have like horrible cystic acne, and on top of that, my face is entirely burnt because I'm using this cream. And I still remember like right before my final exam for accounting, this the skin actually came off my forehead. Like a huge part of skin came off my forehead, and I was shaking in the bathroom, like looking in the mirror, I don't even recognize this. Like, who is this? Like, who is this person? Like, this disfigured, disgusting human being. And I hated myself. I hated everything about myself. And I remember calling my mom, like, shaking and crying, like, I can't take this exam. Like, it was 5 a.m. I hadn't slept all night, trying to study for this exam, and nothing's going inside of my brain because I'm so mentally unwell. It was really, really bad. I was in a really, really bad place. Like, I remember wherever I would walk, people would stare at me. I remember being in an elevator, and like there was a little girl. She was probably like 4 years old with her mom, and she gasped when she saw me. She was like, "Mom, what's wrong with her face?" And her mom had to like cover her eyes, and like you can only imagine what that feels like. And it was really hard. I think my friends didn't really understand. It's not something that they really brought up with me at the time. There were times when like my guy friends were like embarrassed of me. Like I remember being at an event, and like I was planning on getting dinner with someone that was a good friend at the time. I was just hungry, and he was coming. It was like a fundraiser for like a nonprofit event. And he came, and his other friend also tagged along, and he was too embarrassed to get dinner with me. Like he was too embarrassed to, like we were good friends, and he was embarrassed of me. And like I remember like getting in my car and just like bursting into tears because it's like, I mean, I was already dealing with enough with my skin, and like for someone for someone that I considered a friend to be embarrassed of me like that really hurt. So I had second degree burns all over my face. End of sophomore fall. When I came home, I went to a different dermatologist. She just was like, I have never seen anybody with skin like yours. She didn't even know what to say. She was like, the antibiotics you're taking are 4 times stronger than they're supposed to be, so you should immediately get off of them. You shouldn't be using this cream like this. Like, she didn't even know where to start or like what to prescribe, or like, it was horrendous. And the only thing I had ever had exposure to, like, and I had used in high school, because I'm pretty dark skinned. Whenever even I used to break out in high school, it wasn't the acne in high school that bothered me. It was the fact that every time I got a pimple, it would leave a scar, like a black mark. Because when people are dark, they hyperpigment more easily. The treatment I used to use is called microdermabrasion. It kind of like rubs off like the top layer of your skin. It's really mild, and then it like helps with scarring, and that's all I really knew about. And we had a family friend who used to do that for me. So I went to the doctor that does my microdermabrasion, and he literally looks at my face and he's like, I don't even know if I'm supposed to do microdermabrasion on your face. Like, this is so bad. Like, he couldn't even look at, like, my parents couldn't look at me in the eye. Like, no one could ever actually look at me. Like, family friends would kind of look at me and just like be like, what happened? Like, what happened to your face? Like, who? Oh my God. Like, people just couldn't even talk to me. And anyway, so this doctor, he did microdermabrasion on my face, and my skin had thinned out so much from the retinoid that he was actually able to remove like so many layers of skin. And my skin used to bleed a lot when he did it. It was very, very painful. I'm like rubbing like on top of all of, like these cysts. It's disgusting. And it was so painful. I don't even know. Like, I would leave the office like so bloody, like disgusting. Removed so many layers of my skin that I actually stopped breaking out for some time because my skin was so thin. And I still had scarring, obviously. Like, I walked in with severe acne and severe scarring, and like I still had bad scarring, but I was like, scarring you can kind of cover up with makeup, so I used to wear a lot of makeup. But just the fact that I could feel my skin and have it be smooth was like I remember laying in bed and just like touching my face and feeling skin. Like, that was like an amazing feeling at the time. So I studied abroad in London the semester after. It was really, really bad. And my skin was clear because it was so thin, but we hadn't really figured out what was wrong. And like, I had scarring and stuff, but acne-wise it was clear. So I really had a great time in London for those 4 months. But when I came back for the summer, that's when acne gradually started coming back, because obviously we didn't find a cure or figure out what was actually wrong with my skin. Nobody really knew. So my skin started getting extremely bad, and I was also suffering through other health issues, and I could have gone back to school, but I think especially because of my skin, my parents were kind of like, I don't think that, like, we need to find a solution. Like, you going back to school, you're just gonna do poorly in your classes. Like, you're not mentally okay. Like we need to figure out what's wrong. Like, this isn't a quality of life that's like manageable. I took a semester off from school. I went to a dietitian and and another dermatologist, and we found out that we did some tests, ran some tests, and we found out that I had very, very high levels of testosterone, which is something weird for me, because you think testosterone, like, someone would be very like for a girl to have high testosterone, I would have expected symptoms like being hairy or something, like, especially like I'm hairless essentially. So it was very like, the only good thing about me was that I've never been one to grow much hair on my body, at least. So that was a surprise for me. But yeah, I had very, very high levels of testosterone. So my doctor prescribed spironolactone, which is I'm gonna go into more detail when talking about my actual skin regimen and what cleared my skin. So she prescribed spironolactone, and I went to a dietitian and figured out that I need to cut out so many foods. I think the biggest reason my skin had gotten so bad is because I used to drink so much in college. I never ate healthy. I'm vegetarian, but I used to eat pizza every single day. Like, all I would eat is refined carbs and dairy, which are the two things that are extremely bad for cystic acne, because refined carbs increase inflammation and spike testosterone levels, as does dairy. So I cut out dairy and carbs for my entire diet, and so I was pretty much vegan and not eating carbs, which was really, really difficult. I had to figure out a whole new diet and like how to eat, what to eat. All I really and I could so all I really ate was like vegetables, fruits, and beans, and I had one serving of quinoa or buckwheat a day. So I went from I lost about like 15, 20 pounds in like a month. So that was crazy, and my skin cleared up. The scarring slowly went away. Like right now, I'm wearing like a little bit of concealer and light powder. That's about it. I don't really need to cake my face with foundation. Like as of now, like all that's left is like very very mild hyperpigmentation. Like really light, something you wouldn't really notice unless you really came close to my face. But which is great. And I'm so, so thankful. But when I went back to school, it was really, really, like I was still breaking out here and there, like not severely, but I was still breaking out. So it took, and I think I lost a huge part of myself through the process. Like I lost a lot of my self confidence, the way that I saw myself, and I think more than it's not really like appearance, like the way people treated me, like obviously was different and was really hard to deal with. I think though what really, really hurt me was that the way that I saw myself, like the way that I looked in the mirror, I hated myself. Like I hated myself so much. I would question every day, like, why the hell were you born? Like you're disgusting, like you shouldn't have been born. Like I would look at baby pictures. I remember at one point, like I was just in such a bad place. It's really hard for me to think about. Just like ripping up baby pictures and sitting there in my room, like screaming and crying, like, is this never going to go away? Like, is this what I'm going to look like for the rest of my life? Like, why was I born? Like, why am I disgusting? Like, what? Like, it was really difficult. And I think when someone experiences such deep self hate for about like 2 years, like that's like it takes a really long time to like come back to normal. I came back to school my junior spring, and I kind of locked myself up in a room. I'm naturally a pretty extroverted person, and I love being surrounded by people. I was immature in college, but I always was surrounded by friends. And my junior spring, I kind of became very introverted, very socially kind of awkward. Was really in a bad place, would constantly cry all the time. Like I just felt like I lost a part of myself and was very suffocated. And I had amazing friends that were really there for me my senior year that like really brought me back to normal and I'm back to being like a happy, like healthy, confident person again, which is like a really great thing. And I think to anybody else that's like suffering with cystic acne, like what I want to say is that like I know it sucks, but don't let this affect the way that you see yourself. Like, don't let what other people. I know that's easier said than done. Of all people, I know that, but don't let what other people think affect you. Don't look in the mirror and think that this is your fault because it's not your fault. And don't feel like this is helpless and it's never going to be curable because it is. You are going to find a cure, and I am going to elaborate on what worked for me. And hopefully, if you guys want to give that a shot, I think it would really be very, very helpful. I don't know anyone who knows more about acne than I do, or even any dermatologist that I've ever met that knows more about acne than I do. So hopefully that will be helpful. So on to the actual skin regimen that I use that will hopefully